doing something like this is extremely scary. I'm not sure exactly how this works. I'm trying to learn.
Never gonna be easy. For much of it, you'll stand alone, but you got to stand strong. When there's an injustice, whether it's against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down. Don't sit down on them, you know, because they need you. If you are armed with the truth, then that's all you need.
Fucking breathe.
Don't like this. I'm about to have a panic attack.
Why do we have to introduce ourselves on here? We can't do that, like...
Well, we're gonna put the video out there.
Yeah, we have our names in the title. We don't have to say who we are, do we?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Bruce.
And we just want to have a discussion about something in particular that has been everywhere here lately. Apparently nobody can escape it.
Yeah.
And we just want to give our point of view and kind of show you where we're coming from. And let's see if you agree with us. And hopefully you will join us.
You were showing me stuff. But I've never heard anybody really go into detail exposing things for what they are, like this whole thing that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, the bottle incident.
When I started listening to what was going on.
Have you heard the story?
Well, from what you said.
Says.
No, not all. I guarantee I haven't heard all of it. But, like the bottle thing that you talked to me about and what I've seen on the internet, it's funny to me because, you know, you're saying, and we've talked about this, you and I, you're saying that Johnny Depp is not something small where you're just angry at somebody and say, oh, you're an asshole. Oh, can't say that.
Yeah, we've said that. It's on the level of Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, you're a psycho. You're a psycho.
If you're taking a bottle and doing that, that's not just normal R. That's not normal DV. That's not normal SV. That is to the extreme. Think about mentally what it would take.
Even if it was all true, when you make a statement like that, you better have something to back that up, because that's not small. That's not small. You know, like you said, you could sit there and say, oh, this guy hit me, or oh, this guy's got an attitude problem, but as soon as he used a bottle or another object to do the deed, that's a whole different animal. I mean, you go into a whole nother level of accusation right there. So that's how
twisted.
That's to me on how it brought to light everything. And that's just me saying it, but I mean, it made me pay attention. I was like, hey, whoa, wait a minute.
Now, there's a whole lot of other things that go along with this, but sticking specifically with just the bottle incident. She claims, and again, we'll get into that separately down the line, because I plan on going over all of it. She claims that it was a 3-day hostage situation.
Yeah.
That for 3 days, he beat the crap out of her. And a certain segment of this, he ended up taking her into the kitchen. He punched her, dragged her across the floor, ripped her clothes off. She was nude while he was doing this. Broken bottles everywhere. His fingertip came off, and then somehow in the middle of his fingertip coming off, right around that same time, he apparently has her down on the countertop, nude. Just nude. And she has glass everywhere, all on her forearms, all on her legs, all over her body, and he takes a bottle. And the weirdest thing for me, because, again, I've been in this situation. You feel it. You feel every part of it. It's not something you can hide. She claims with the bottle, these were two big things I want to hit on, that it was just pressure. She only felt pressure, and she thought he was punching her. That's what she thought. He was punching her.
I felt this pressure. On my pubic bone. He thought he was punching me.
also claims she doesn't know if the bottle was broken
Yeah,
or
see.
not.
Yeah, that part made no
Broken
sense.
bottle?
Yeah, it made no
Broken
sense.
bottle in there.
And I heard her say, "Oh, I have medical records." Where?
There aren't any medical records reflecting that you sought medical treatment for any of these injuries, are there?
I did not seek medical treatment after Australia, no.
Not for the rape?
No, I did not want to tell anyone.
Not for the cuts?
No,
Not for the injuries to your face?
I didn't need to.
I want to prove that she's lying about things. Because basically, the perpetrator of violence has now come out and said that she's the victim of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, somebody who's, I hate the word survive, we've just spoke about that, but somebody who's survived this, went through this, lived through this, it has taught me a lot. And when you go through these type of things, you see things clearer. You could tell by people's body language and everything like that, whether they're full of crap like she is. But just on a basic anatomy level. I did a lot of research. We went over this. The average. Now, Amber Heard is 5'7". Some sites say she's 5'8". She's 5'7", 5'8". Now, the average height is 5'4" for females. She's 5'7". So I'm not sure if she's going to take one from one of your songs, a yang. I don't know if she's going to have an above average yang. But my thing is how big do you have to be to not feel that?
Not the old bottle.
Because I'm going to take a picture and actually insert it. But that's the average size of a woman right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep we go. Here's the big extreme. But then that's the average size of a man.
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows, before we continue, she is a Johnny Depp fan. She is.
I have been for a long
All
time.
right, she's a admitted Johnny Depp fan. But she also sees things from both directions. Me, I've always said from the beginning to her when she talked about this, I don't have a dog in the fight. Doesn't affect my life either way. Sometimes the opposite opinion is actually good, because then you could debate, you could talk. It's healthy conversations. I can help her see things one way. She can help me see things the other. So it's actually better to have one that's neutral and one that's not, because it stands to have better conversations that way.
And I'm always, in every situation that I've ever been in, I'm an empath. I will always see from other people's point. You know me, I've never fought with anybody. I've never raised my... I don't try to do that. I don't try. I always try to understand, even when it's against me, I always try to understand the other person's point of view. This is the first time where I've watched everything on her. I've researched her. I cannot see it. I don't understand it. I don't understand her side, her stories, where I don't understand it.
Well, lies to a smart person or an intelligent person or even a person that just thinks. Lies that she's been telling, and the amount and how they roll into each other. Of course they're not going to make sense. And that'll make anybody go, hey, wait a second, what? What did I just hear? And you are definitely smarter than the average person. So when you hear that, of course you got to dig into it.
And I think, again, it's the level that she went to. It's the level she took it to.
Yeah, she went straight from, I'm in an abusive relationship, to he's, like I said, a psycho, out of control.
No way that somebody could do that and it not leak out in other aspects or other forms of their life.
Correct.
But back to this bottle situation. Here we have the average is here highlighted in red, and then we have the average man, which really doesn't matter in this situation. But that's the average female, that's the average man. Now, I wanted to bring these out. I don't use these. I don't like these. These for men, because you don't know what this is, do you? Do you know what this is?
No. You showed me that earlier. Never explained to me exactly what it is, and
These are...
I don't know. It looks weird.
I'm not going to say the name of it because I'm not sure if we could say that. But these are cups for females. During that time of the month, we take these, we fold it up, we put it in, and it opens. And that, everything goes in there, and then at the end of the night, or, you know, a couple hours later, you pull it out and clean it up. And most men don't know that. Men, y'all try.
Yeah, I mean, thank God we don't have to do stuff like that.
But look at that. This is the small. This is the medium. That's
I'm
the
gonna
large.
have to hold these for you, ain't I?
I haven't used it. I only used this
I know,
one
but
time,
still,
but
it's just
I
the
didn't like
idea.
them. But look at that. That is essentially the size of a yang, right?
Okay.
Using the song as a reference,
Yeah.
and I got. Now,
Ding,
I have-
ding, ding, ding. I'm sorry. Looks like a bell.
bottle. I have 3 different bottles. I don't have the Maker's
hold
Mark
on.
bottle, which I wish I did, but
Yeah.
Maker's Mark is expensive, and I quit drinking a long time ago. And I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
we
go
don't
spend
drink
money,
alcohol, so there's no reason to have a Maker's Mark bottle in here just to prove a point.
especially when it's expensive.
Correct.
But I think it's funny because they had bottles, and you know how the Maker's Mark has that red wax on top?
Yes.
She was looking at a picture in the middle of her testimony, and she saw that picture, and I think because she saw the red on it, she thought, like, she had the instant, oh, that's blood. Oh, that's the bottle.
Yeah.
But it's the wax that's on it. Okay, but whatever. Hold that up for a second.
Yeah, there you go. Oh. Yeah.
You're going to feel that.
Yeah, look, it's fun to rip out of my hand.
Okay, now let's use the large one, because she is 5'7". She might have one that's a bit bigger
Yeah,
than
She
average.
might have a big yo.
You're gonna feel that. you're gonna
Yeah.
Here, let's do absolute.
Yeah. And mind you, this is just me sitting here with these things in
You're
my hand.
going to feel that.
This is her being thrown over a bar
Yes.
and being forced in there. This is, I mean, that's, yeah, it's just not going to work.
Is this a hot dog down the hallway situation that we have going
Yeah,
on?
that's what it is. I mean, if that happened, yeah, she's going to have to be. But
How big is it
Yeah.
for her to just feel pressure? Because I'm telling you, when I went through that, when I had I've had several, but the one where it was just that, I felt all of it. All of it. And I'm not sure, because she claims PTSD. That's what she's claiming. She has PTSD. That's why. Because she can't. She can't explain the sequence of things. What that is a liar trying to come up with a reason why her stories have changed. She's been inconsistent. She doesn't know. Because she never thought it would come to this.
Mm-hmm.
So she never actually, at the beginning of this, sat down and said, oh, this is what happened.
yeah,
And came up with a good story. Now that we've had the UK trial and we've done all that, now that she's actually going to be on trial and she has to tell the story and she has to sit there and explain it. She claims she has PTSD, so she doesn't. I am bipolar and I have anxiety. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just, it happens when you go through the things that I've been through in life. But there is not anything that I don't remember from it.
yeah. Well, see, you have to understand something. Whether you're telling the truth or a lie, when you're describing something to somebody or you're telling a story to somebody, when you're actively in the middle of telling that story, you're not thinking about 2 years down the road, I'm going to have
Yes.
to explain this or prove this.
Yes.
That's not a case in anything that you say. So when you know, there's always that saying, when you lie, the hardest thing about lies is remembering your lies, because you have to tell them over and over and over
As Johnny
again.
said, lies
And they lead to
upon
more
lies
lies.
upon lies.
You know, that there is truth to that, because when you tell a lie, especially something extreme, people are going to remember that story. It's something that's going to stick out in their head. A bottle in the yo-yo is going to stick out in your head. So when you tell that story and then you tell it different, or you don't do the normal, yeah, people are going to question it. People are going to question it left and right. She definitely throws out a lot of this, oh, I have PTSD. You know, if anybody really knew what that was, or when a person
I
is
actually think
suffering
you have
from that,
PTSD.
you don't even know you have that issue. It's not something you're aware of. Okay? Not unless you've seen yourself on a video or you can hear yourself talking on a recording that you even realize, wow, that's not me. It's not in your head. It's something normal that you're doing. You know, and she's claiming, again, we'll go back to that, an act with a bottle. in that whole scenario that she's talking about, that's a step above.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you did not seek any.
No medical.
And you have a bottle up there, and then you think the glass is broke, you think it, and you don't go to a doctor? That's not possible.
And let's face it, she was not living in a normal person day-to-day life.
No.
Johnny at that time was going through his chemical dependency thing, his therapy, his coming down.
Right.
So he had doctors around and nurses around all the time. She had her own. Johnny made sure that she got her own. So she had her own nurse. Who has that? Who really has their own nurse that they can call up and say, oh yeah, this is going on.
Rich
What is
people.
it?
No.
So she has that luxury. She had the luxury of having a nurse on speed dial and a Dr. Kipper that was there and her own nurse. And you're telling me that not once did she think, oh, because she did say that there was blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
I heard
said that she was
part.
bleeding.
I heard that part.
But she claimed that she went upstairs, took sleeping pills, and went to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that I would do too after just.
How does that make sense?
After somebody just inserted a bottle into me, I'd want to just go
Go to
sleep.
sleep.
Too,
Yeah, just go to sleep.
After fighting all day and getting beat up and
Because that
forced over a
definitely.
bar and all that, the first thing I'm thinking about is let me go take a nap so we can continue this again later. Yeah.
Yeah, because when that happens to you, you just instantly get tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to go to sleep. Because I know, I'll tell you, just from my personal experience, because again, that's why I'm starting this, so that me and all the other people out there who've had experiences like this can share and show how full of crap she is. The first thing I did, I gathered all my stuff and I left. There was no sleeping for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was freaking out, stressing, didn't know what to do, couldn't stop crying. And this happened to me. I was 15 when this happened to me. 15. And I could still remember it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anything like that
And
goes away.
she goes upstairs and goes to sleep.
Yeah.
She just
Yeah,
goes
like
to
I
sleep.
said, when you first started showing me all of this, I was trying to tell you that, sometimes in life, like at the beginning, I didn't blame her. I didn't hold anything against her. And honestly, I was trying to see things her way. We don't know how she grew up. Nobody does because we weren't there. And I explained this to you once before.
Yes.
This could be a defense mechanism for her that she's been doing since she's able to talk. And
This
that's
is how she's always
lie to survive. Because the amount of lying that a person like that does is not normal. It's not like you're telling a lie to make yourself look good for 5 minutes. I mean, you're telling lie after lie after lie after lie, and then get caught in the lies and lying to explain the lie because you got caught in a lie. I mean, it's just, I've seen some unbelievable things, and at the same time, I still kept saying that, you just, this
You
could
said
be
it the other
something
day.
that's new for her because it's the first time in her life she's being challenged this much. She's always been able to make people believe her, always been able to make people bend and forget, hey, you know what, we'll let that one slide. And now she's not. So she's caught between, a rock and a hard place where she doesn't even know how to tell the truth to get out of it. It's going to be another lie after another lie after another lie. Now, I started changing with the whole bottle thing and everything because, again, that's not a normal lie. When you start saying somebody's an animal, which you would have to be to do that level of abuse to somebody, is you're an animal. You're no longer a man with an attitude. You are an animal. Okay? And once she did that is when I started saying, all right, look, now it's starting to really hurt people.
You explained it really good the other day because I was on one of my rants, like I was, and you said it perfectly. You started with the way you just did, where you said that this is probably how she's always handled her life.
Mm-hmm.
She's always, something obviously happened to her in her childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Something had to have happened, and she's been forced to create this kind of personality that does this, that handles situations this way. And the one thing that you made me realize is that it has worked.
Mm-hmm.
She made it to Hollywood.
Yep.
She made it
Successful.
into movies.
Yeah,
so
she was successful.
She made it.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, that made her belief in the way she was living and who she was and how she was. She made it solidified it in her mind that everything that she was doing was right and correct.
Yep.
Now that this has happened, I know she was not expecting it to turn out this way. And now it's really she's really gonna have to accept how to change.
Mm-hmm. And the shame of it is, she's this close. We talked about this. She's this close to turning it all around and at least making an attempt to get that world back that she just basically is losing and doesn't even realize she's losing it as much as she is. But she can actually return from that. And she's this close. All she has to do is admit it. I screwed up. I have an issue. I've got to fix it. And you'd be surprised how many people would stand behind her 1,000%.
I hate her right now.
Fans, everything would stand behind her at that point, but she will not do it.
I hate her right now. I literally hate her. Can't stand her. And that's really big for me because I don't think even my mother, I don't think I've ever said I hate. But I couldn't.
Yeah, I personally.
It would completely disarm that if she would just say, listen, she wouldn't even. This is what I said with my mother, if you remember, whenever I reconnected with my mother, because I am a victim of childhood abuse. But she doesn't even have to apologize for everything. Because when you get to this point and you're lying about all of it, the way I was with my mother, she beat me a lot. There was no... You can't apologize for every single thing.
No,
you can't.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
So just like with my mother, she wouldn't even have to apologize for everything. Now, later on down the road, somebody might do an interview and ask her about the big ones. But even if she was just saying, hey, handled it wrong. It started off this way and it turned into a snowball going down a hill. And
there doesn't even have to be a detailed explanation.
No.
Just an admission. Just an admission. But again, I really honestly feel, in her eyes, she doesn't even know she's lying. She's past that point.
Believes it.
She's been doing it for so long that to her there is no such thing as a lie. When she says it, that's the way it is in her brain.
I will say she is a master at manipulating. Now, she's not great at coming up with the lies. I will say that. The lies are not believable. She did that interview.
But she's very convincing.
But she's very quick at blaming other people. Yes. She's very quick at coming up with...
Well, you know my nickname for people like that? The human shields.
Yes. I love the psychology of it because I'm so non-invasive. I like to just sit and watch. I don't like to be argumentative. I don't like I don't like confrontation. So for me, the fascination is where the decision came in. When did they decide to go down this route? That to me just fascinates me. And the one thing that everybody talks about, everybody shows this, and everybody's talking about these lies and how they did this. And there's one girl on YouTube that did excellent videos, great quality, great everything. And she went through, and I don't think she wasn't on either side until she started reading the UK testimony, her divorce, because she has 3 different times where she was deposed. She has her divorce, the UK, and the US, and then of course everything that's happened in and out. The one thing that really irritates me when everybody looks at these and analyzes these is the circular motion of it. You're looking at it as a circle. You're not looking at it in a linear path. We live life in a linear path. We make choices today because of our wants and needs and desires of today. That's how these lies started. That's what I want to know is when did she decide to go down this path?
Yeah.
Because
it's a good question.
Looking at the evidence, it seems like this was something that she was cooking up and baking for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, didn't she also have videos and voice recordings that she was taping
Well,
to set this up to?
Johnny, this is part of their therapy, and I did hear somebody say that in LA, because you know LA is a lot different than every other place in the world. But in LA, a lot of the therapists, he was an actor too, I think. A lot of the therapists have you do that, record your arguments to where you could see where you went wrong and figure out what your problems are and everything. So Johnny was actually the first one to suggest that. And I think he was coming from the point of view is you don't realize what you're saying to me. You don't realize what you're doing. And honestly, I think it was the twisting. He got tired of being on that twist, that roller coaster ride, and he wanted evidence and proof. But yet you're never going to get a narcissist to admit anything, because as you see with the interview that she just did, she's able to say something else that counteracts that and swoops that away. But they did record, but you could tell, because after she filed her TRO, there is a recording, and it's funny because that same recording, you can hear her snorting a line of cocaine. You can hear Johnny on the phone talking to the lawyers, and all of a sudden you hear... So she's snorting a line of cocaine in this recording. It's not very popular out there, but there is a recording to where you can tell by the way she's talking to Johnny and the things that she's saying. He doesn't understand what's going on at the time. He's telling her he doesn't want a divorce, but you could tell by what she's saying, she's trying to say stuff to get him to either just ignore it, which he did in one part, which is why people think that he could have done something, or to get him to admit it, because there's one of the things is you headbutted me in the nose, because that's where she was saying, oh, he broke my nose. And he goes, I didn't headbutt you in the nose, I headbutted you in the forehead. And he's not saying he headbutted her in the forehead. It was later on in court, he described that moment. He was holding her and containing. Again, if you don't know that you're being recorded, you're not going to be very specific with your words. You're not going to give a detailed description. You're not. You don't know you're being recorded, so therefore you don't think it's going to get picked apart and pulled apart. But he told her when she said, you headbutted me in the nose, he said, what are you talking about? No, it's the forehead. And that was the argument where he had to bear hug her, and that happened. Yeah. But it's funny because you can hear her doing that, baiting him into it.
Yes, she was definitely leading him to a response that was acceptable to her.
I don't believe a single word that has come out of her mouth. I don't. And that is one of the things that I plan on doing, is going through everything that this woman has said, because she has now challenged us to do that and write down every single lie she's told. But in that process, I want to try to figure out if we can discern when she decided to do this.
Yeah, and that's hardest thing to do, is figure out when her mind went from, I want to be with Johnny, if it ever was there, to, I'm going to burn him and protect myself.
Well, that goes into reading body language. And
correct.
Everything.
And everybody has the ability to do that. It's just what level you can carry it to.
Because I watch the behavioral panel and then the behavioral arts on, and that's what they talk about. They actually get on and do her body language and everything like that.
It all goes back to that same thing when you're walking down a street corner and something jumps in your head and says, ooh, I don't feel right. And then as soon as you make that turn, because you pause a little bit, you could have got hit by a car or somebody would have walked into you. It's those things where a lot of people call them angels or over their shoulder because somebody whispered to them to turn that way instead of that way, and it changed their life. We all have that gut instinct in us that tells us when you're talking to somebody, just don't feel right about that person.
Yeah.
Yours kicks in with her big time when she talks. And a lot of that, yes, has to do with your Johnny Depp fan, but it also has a lot of it has to do with the fact that when it's totally outrageous, you react. I've seen you do it every day in life. And if somebody's just totally off the wall, it gets under your skin, because you know in your mind, you're thinking, how stupid do you think I am that you think I'm going to listen to that?
That goes back, behavioral arts, behavioral panel. The show Lie to Me. We loved that show when it came out. That show was awesome. And if you remember, on that show, if you are a victim you become very good at picking up cues from people.
Yes.
You don't realize it. You don't realize that you're able
Nope.
to do that, but you have to, because you have to be able to read your mother or your father. In my case, it was my mother. I had to read whether she was upset, if she was mad, if something I said upset her, or did she walk by that and shrug, because then I'm going to get hit for that.
Correct.
And that's one thing that Amber probably has, that ability to read people. She doesn't realize that she can, but obviously, you know, she does, because she's able to manipulate the situation. She's probably really good at doing that because something had to happen to her in her childhood. Her and her sister both admitted that her father was abusive.
Yes.
So we do know that she went through some
There were
childhood
some
trauma.
events, yeah.
Something that caused her personality to then be the way it is.
Yep.
I do know that her secretary said that she changed when she met Johnny. Right after she met Johnny, she all of a sudden started changing how she dressed. She changed her entire apartment to, like, Johnny likes reading, so all of a sudden now in her apartment she has a bunch of books. She completely switched.
That's her defense mechanism. She had to adapt to his way
To try to get him.
Correct. She doesn't feel, honestly, she has to build up this whole fake persona and world around her for her to feel like she's on anybody else's level. That's why in trial, everybody makes comments on it, and it's true. She sits there, chin up in the air, looking down at everybody. I'm better than everybody, because she built her life that way.
Yeah.
That's how I've heard people say, oh, her baseline. You know, it's hard to read because her baseline. Her baseline is up there because she spent her entire life living one big lie after another. If you asked her what the truth is in her childhood, she probably can't even tell you, because it's all made up in her head. And she believes that. What she believes out of her mouth is the truth. Never going to change.
Yeah.
Because to her, that's the absolute truth.
Because I want to keep track of all of her lies, and I have that board right there.
Yeah.
Right now, we have a few undisputed, massive lies that she said. As for the reasons that I explained, I'm going to go ahead and put the bottle on there.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that happened.
No, that's impossible.
There's no way, with the proof that I just showed you, unless, again, it's a hot dog down a hallway type of situation we have going on here. There's no way for her to go through that. And I did research. You saw me do research earlier. I looked up cases where bottles were used. There's a lot where beer bottles were used. And the person, it was okay, but they still had some damage. But every case where a bottle was used, because that's the one situation where I don't have any experience. I use my common knowledge. Every single person that I looked up and researched that had a bottle was in the hospital. Now, she's not only saying she was penetrated with a bottle, she's saying it was a 3-day event where she was getting beaten the whole time. How is that? How?
Yeah, it's not possible.
So therefore, I'm going to consider that an undisputed massive lie. I'm sorry.
But no, she's trying to bring to light the things, because of course it's all over the internet. People are doing a lot of reports and this from
YouTube, Twitter,
to
Twitch.
this. Yeah, I didn't know if I could say those. That's why I was
Yes.
getting caught up. But anyway you look, it's on there. But what's not on there is somebody actually taking
Collecting
apart the big lies and saying, look.
She chose to get out there with the ACLU and say that I'm a victim. I'm a victim, and I want to help other victims, and I want to be the savior for all of these victims, and I want to just... She was the abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And she has manipulated it. That is a huge slap in the face.
Yeah.
I am a woman. I am bisexual. I have been abused. I have been raped. I've went through every type of situation out there when it comes to that. And she is spat in my face with the lies that she is telling. And she is spitting in the face of every person who has survived out there by doing what she's doing. She did the interview the other day and actually said, Savannah asked her a question about Johnny's exes, and she goes, well, would you come forward? Kind of implying that people shouldn't come forward with their stories. That is ridiculous. Who is she to make people feel like because she wasn't believed, her lies weren't trusted, then now that everybody, every woman out there, even men, I'm sorry, but that whole concept that only women are abused is not true. Who is she to get out there and tell all of us that we shouldn't come forward because we're not going to get believed because she wasn't? She didn't get believed because of her lies, not because of anything else. She wasn't credible. And I'm going to prove it. Because you cannot sit there and say you're a victim and be the abuser and expect us to believe you. It should not work that way. She's rode this wave for 6 years. Not only has she rode that wave, she purposely tried to ruin a man's life. She went after him.
That's a whole nother episode.
She said in the interview that she didn't want this to happen. She did.
We'll go through them all.
And everybody out there who has a story that they want to tell, anybody who out there who has been through this, come forward. Have these conversations with me. I want to hear it. I want to show the world what it's like for us. We are believable. We know what we're talking about. We know what it's like. Join me for these conversations. I want to go through each one and have a discussion about it. Show how absurd what she said is. And we're going to go from the divorce to the UK trial, to the US trial, and beyond. We're going to take it step by step. I want to show the difference between somebody who actually went through this, as opposed to somebody who's just coming up with clever stories to make herself look good so she can get more money in a divorce.
Yeah.
And then we can make it fun, because I want to know on when we think she might have made the decision to do this. Who all knows the truth?
Well, once we learn what we can say and what we can't say, we'll be able to relax a little bit. So.
But
because our conversations might get heated at times, but we also laugh quite a bit.
yes.
So